If you like Bible prophecy, this is the place for you. Guys, I've been sent a video, I've watched it a couple of times, from Voddie Baucham on the mark of the beast. And you know, this is a topic that we talk about a lot. Now, I wouldn't fully agree with some of the stuff he said, but there's some very interesting points in it. What I want you to do, if you can, get your cup of coffee. This video is 8-9 minutes maybe, and I'll just give you a little bit of feedback on my end. But what I wanted you to do was watch it in full. Some good points in here, some interesting points actually. Some we kind of have to go back and study ourselves, but this is very, very eye-opening. I'm very, very glad I got a chance to watch this. Like always, I ask you, smash that like button and get this out to as many as possible. Stick around, watch it, and I'll give a short, kind of brief conclusion on what I think himself. Have a look.
666. The number of the name of the beast. The mark of the beast. What is this mark of the beast? And what is the meaning of the number 666? Some have associated the number 666 with Nero.
In the Hebrew language, every single letter is given a number, and if you add up the numbers of Nero's name, guess what number it adds up to? 666, the mark of the beast.
Is the mark physical, or is it spiritual? Joe Kirby recently shared that he used to believe it was spiritual, but now believes it is both spiritual and physical.
And if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have said it's definitely just spiritual. But right now, as I look at the world, I've been shocked at the changes. And it's led me to my Bible. It's led me to try and find more answers. And as I look at it now, I've got to say, I believe it's both spiritual and physical. I do think there will be a physical mark on the hand and the foreheads.
To understand the beast and its mark, we need to understand more broadly how to interpret what we read in the book of Revelation. By far the most popular view of Revelation is that it contains prophecies of future events in such a way that we can compare events that we read about in the newspaper with the events in Revelation.
When we talk about the Battle of Armageddon, there are books and charts and movies. As I've told you before, since we have embarked on this journey in Revelation, there's no shortage of people who are more than happy to give us charts to help us make our way through this book. Also, as we watch the world, we see and hear again and again the idea of moving toward the Battle of Armageddon. Who is this Antichrist, and is this the last battle? And World War I was referred to as the war to end all wars. World War II, widely understood that Hitler was the end times Antichrist. In the first Gulf War, Iraq was the new Babylon, and Saddam Hussein the new Nebuchadnezzar. And we were marching into a war that would eventually culminate in the Battle of Armageddon. It was the rise of the European Union. And now we're being told that this is that 10-nation federation that we're going to see at the end of the age.
However, it should be clear that the book of Revelation was written to be relevant for all Christians at all times, not just for Christians who are living during the period immediately before Christ's second coming, when the events of Revelation would supposedly be happening.
That is what Revelation 16 is written for. That's why it's here in the book. Not to cause you to stick your nose in a newspaper, but to cause you to lift your eyes to the sky, to lift your eyes to the hill from whence your help comes, because your help comes from the Lord, who is the maker of heaven and earth. Oh yeah, he's going to dry up the Euphrates. The enemies of God will rush in. They will come to Armageddon, the Mount of Assembly. They will fight against our God like they have always fought against our God, believing that it is within their power to destroy his church. And in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, Christ will say, enough. In the meantime, keep your garments on, keep them clean, and remember, the one who gave you those garments and makes those garments clean is the one who fights for us.
This suggests that the wars and events that we see in Revelation are not just prophecies of future events, but are also relevant and true to an extent today. The Battle of Armageddon is not just a future battle. It's a battle that's also happening today. The beast is not just a future enemy of Christians. It's the enemy of Christians today. And the mark of the beast isn't just something that's coming in the future. It's present today.
Hey, this is Michael. Yeah, the real Michael. If you like these videos, would you consider subscribing? It helps YouTube spread this message to more people. I'm giving away a beautiful handcrafted leather Bible every week, and I'm trying to pass Kenneth Copeland in subscribers to show that truth wins over false teaching. Thank you so much for your eyeballs and support.
End-time scholar Cornelius Venema, author of the excellent book The Promise of the Future, writes, G.K. Beale cites several problems with the identification of this figure as Nero, and argues that in its literary context, the number is used metaphorically and figuratively to refer to incompleteness and imperfection. The beast and his people, by contrast to the perfection and completeness of Christ and the 144,000 saints, are unable to win the decisive victory. The beast is destined for defeat. In my judgment, Beale has the stronger and more convincing case, one that is based upon a more secure hermeneutical footing in the interpretation of the book of Revelation. And who are the 144,000 saints? While there are numerous interpretations of this number, we believe the most biblical view is that the number 144,000 refers to the people of God as a whole.
Some view this list as literal and take it to be a Jewish remnant sealed after the secret rapture of the church. That's the most common view of our day, that this is a literal list and this is the Jewish remnant that's sealed after the secret rapture of the church. Now, the secret rapture of the church is very important and very necessary because the idea is that God has two peoples. He has the Jews and he has the church. And that originally his people, the Jews, Christ came, offered the kingdom to the Jews. The Jews rejected him. God went to plan B, which was the church, which is only a parenthesis in history. And that parenthesis has to be closed so that God can go back and finish his work with the ethnic nation of Israel. So the rapture occurs, the church, the Gentile church is taken out of the world, and then God can go back and deal with his people, ethnic Israel. And this list of 144,000 listed specifically here from tribes in Judah is offered oftentimes as a proof text in that regard. Again, that is the most common position taken by those in our culture today. Secondly, and related to that, some people think that this list is linked to the prophecy in Romans 11, 24, 26. It says all Israel will be saved. And they go back here to this list and connect it to Romans chapter 11, which is rather difficult because those who argue that this has to be a literal list of literal ethnic Jews do so because of their insistence that we have to take a literal approach to the book of Revelation. And if they're doing that, and we've only got 144,000, that doesn't match with all Israel. Then it still would have to be a symbolic number of 144,000 representing all of Israel. So you would still have to accept symbolism there. Thirdly, some see this list, very few, but some see this list as a remnant of ethnic Jews living during the first century. And finally, some see this list as figurative, pointing to the people of God as a whole, who are sealed and who make it through the tribulation. I'm arguing for that fourth position. I do not believe that this list of 144,000 is literally referring to ethnic Jews.
So the beast and the mark of the beast are symbolic of the war throughout history of Satan and the enemies of Christ against Christ and his saints, of which Christ will certainly be the victor.
If you're still here, thank you very much. I know it's kind of a long enough video, a bit longer than normal, Very, very interesting points there. What I would say from my own years of studying eschatology is that we have to revert to scripture and find ourselves. He's talking 144,000, I believe, is literal for Israel and the tribes of Israel. I think John seen clearly what that is. You have to remember, folks, with the book of Revelation, when John was seeing this, he was writing it in first century language, stuff that he could only describe, but yeah, he was seeing something in the future. Very difficult for him to explain what he was seeing thousands of years down the line and trying to write it in everyday language at his time. But I believe we're seeing the fruition of a huge amount of the things that were written, and we're about to see the crescendo. What I would say to us all is to study and become accountable ourselves to find the answers. Some of the stuff I wouldn't agree with. I believe the mark is a physical etching that happens, something that's identifiable because it's needed for buying and selling, because to this day we can still barter in terms of trading with food or gold, etc. But I believe it's a physical mark. Do your study. Thanks for taking the time. It's a long video. Blessings, and remember, God's always in control. Keep the faith.